I am Brendan Menapace, Content Director of Print and Promo Marketing here at ASI, and I'm joined today by Tom Amestoy, Brand Solutions Expert for Halo, and Aaron Kanata, Halo's Vice President of Marketing. Today we're going to discuss a case study that they both worked on that blended both print and promotional products together. And rather than this being a client-facing promotion, this was actually done for Amestoy and his fellow reps at Halo. And I'll let the two of you get to this in just a second, but do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves for the people watching?
Sure. Um, my name is Tom Amestoy. I'm an account executive here at Halo. I've worked here this is my sixth year. And in the past, I worked at companies like Inner Workings, um, Workflow One, Reynolds, Duplex, et cetera, for the print industry that then dabbled into the promo industry, and I'm here now.
And I'm Erin Kanata. I joined Halo earlier this year in the spring. I previously come from the supplier side at SNS Activewear, so I've been in the industry for about 20 years. Tom was actually a customer of mine, I think at Inner Workings many years ago. Halo was actually a customer of mine for many years as well, so excited to be on this side of the business.
You
We're
gave
happy
me
to have you.
sorry to interrupt. You gave me a bit of the background off the air, but can you fill me in on the background of this promotion that you were telling me about? What exactly was it? What were the products you used, etc.?
Well, you
So
and I
what
started talking about a promotion that I'd worked on, and I have some answers about that. But then I thought the best promotion, really example, is one that Aaron does for all of us. So I wanted to bring Aaron into to talking more about that particular one. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say, so what we do as the Halo marketing team, every quarter we do these amazing inboxes that are a great touch point for AEs to be able to reach out to clients. So it's oftentimes they're season specific. The holiday one I'm going to show now is a Q4 one. They're just nice touch points for AEs or sales partners to be able to reach out to their clients, whether they want to specifically have them purchase the items in this box, or it's just something they want to say, hey, you were top of mind. And it's just a nice relationship piece. So this one that we did was our Q4 inbox. So I'll kind of let Tom speak about it a little bit as well. But again, every quarter we do a piece like this. Excuse me, I'm not very good at apparently showing these. Um, and it's just a nice gifting piece. So it's an experience. We all know that unboxing experiences are really important to clients, and just those experiential moments are really powerful. So we had amazing feedback, and you can go into the product in here, but even down to the way that this one was particularly packaged. We had account executives, our SVP of marketing, so many people reached out and said, I even love how everything fit together. So all of those components, it's not just throwing things into a box, it's how do they fit together, but also how are they packaged? There were some food items in this one to make sure that they weren't, nothing showed up broken, so how they were packaged. So there's a lot of components, a lot of things, a lot of thought that goes into each of these kits.
And a lot of our suppliers in the promo industry are trying to be competitive with their pricing, and so what they're showing to us on their search softwares and stuff like that looks beautiful, but their packaging sometimes can be pretty economical, right? So taking their packaging just as it comes could just be a very thin corrugated container, and that experience of sending that sample to a client can be underwhelming. So when we put it together with that kind of packaging, professional packaging, and that idea of the unboxing experience could be a completely different experience for the customer to consider those items.
Yeah, just looking at it now through the TV screen, you really do get the that instant branding impression. And Aaron, when you opened it up, I saw there's messaging on the inside of the box. There's printing all throughout. It's definitely a far cry from just the plain white box that, some products might come in. Can you tell me a bit about, designing that aspect of things? Because like you said, some promo folks might not think about the packaging and Aaron, you talk about going beyond literally just throwing things into the kit to create a cohesive look. Can you tell me a bit about what goes into that?
Yeah. So what we really strive for is more of an integrated marketing campaign. So to make sure that all the elements work together, from the outside of the box, the message that's on the box, all the products that are inside the box, what we print on the products, and then on like the card insert. So We're talking about how do we combine print with promo. You're printing on the outside of the box, but even the card insert that goes into it that talks about what these items are. We all receive different types of things. You're like, I love this piece, but what is it? How do I order this? So even making sure you're thinking through down to that level of detail. And maybe we'll probably get more into it a little bit later, but more of an omni-channel initiative as well. So we've got the physical, we have the print, but then what are all the digital initiatives? What is that email follow-up? What's the social follow-up? What's the blog that goes with it? What's the merch deck that goes with it? So we're just being more thoughtful and methodical with all these initiatives. So I would say, as you're thinking through how we go about this, we're really thinking, is it a theme? Is it a time of year? Is it an event? How do we think about everything that goes into that and make sure they all work together? So this was our Q4 one. The message on the inside, it says, for seamless gifting, start with Halo. So a lot of our account executives use this as a holiday touch point, a holiday gift for their clients. And so we thought, what are all those pieces that feel good? Q4, it's winter. We all are, eating sweets and treats. Like, so we put a great shortbread cookie in there. We put in a mug. We also put in a fun little kind of honey stick, all with fun little branding. Something that's really popular right now are the so sorry, the immersion blenders. So what are
Right.
those fun things? One that you're going to be using all the time. So we all love an amazing drinkware piece. This little piece right here, we did a blog that went with it that talked about how can you use this? Why would you use this? All the way down
Right.
to like making eggs, things like that. So, as I was using it the other day, I have two. I have one that doesn't have a logo, and I have this one. And obviously, it's the company I work for, so I have an affinity towards it. But just even looking down, I had that moment for a second, as opposed to the other one that didn't have any branding. So just thinking through all those additional touch points and making sure that it's a cohesive message throughout.
Can you tell me a bit, for someone who might not have ever done something like this, can you tell me about how data comes into play here? And you mentioned it a few minutes ago. I do want to hear more about that.
I mean, there's so many ways to look at the data.
Hmm.
You can look at it on the front end, and I think when you're thinking about doing something like this, it's asking yourself, what are your goals? Is it just to increase awareness? Is it to actually get people to purchase the products that are in these kits? And so it's, what are your initiatives? Is it KPIs? Is it ROI? So I think, from the end user perspective, how are you going to gather that data from them? So are you making sure that all the product has a QR code and someone can quickly scan that? Does the digital card insert have a QR code so you're, able to track those metrics? The email follow-up. So I think from a data side, that's obviously really important, and asking yourself what's important to you. For us, we're obviously looking at preferred suppliers and products that are trending really well. What has, high inventory, things like that. There's so many ways you can look at data, but for us it's more so on the back end. What are those KPIs? What's that ROI that we're looking for on the back end?
That makes a lot of sense, especially for something that would be going out this time of year where you're trying to, create that touch point, like you said, with your customers and things like that.
Mhm.
One of the topics we've talked about so much in conversations like this is, creating that one-stop shop where customers can go to their distributor partners and get their print and promo in one place. And the same goes for distributors who can go to a supplier maybe and, get everything they need in one place. Can you tell me a bit about the sourcing for the products you used in this application here? What it was like? Did you have to, go through different avenues to create this cohesive piece, or were you able to kind of source everything from one supplier?
Absolutely. So it's every piece is a different supplier, from
Hmm.
the box to the crinkle paper to all of the items included to the decoration. Sometimes we have suppliers who do decoration in-house, others don't. We don't always do apparel, but if we were to include an apparel piece, a headwear, a beanie, that's another area. We need to secure the physical item, the blank item, ship that to a decorator. And then we obviously have to do the print as well. So
Hmm.
they are all completely different suppliers. So
I think that
go ahead, Tom's he knows a lot about this.
I think the consideration for our customer is going to be different on that point of view than
Hmm.
for us as a distributor. For us, our advantage is being able to offer you the best of lots of different suppliers. But I know my customer has less people than they did many years ago, and they have less time than they did many years ago. And going to a single supplier is something they desire to do. So it's that I want to sit in that space of being the single supplier that
Hmm.
can help them, because I know print and promo and lots of different places to do that at. So I think it's a little different on our side as a distributor than it would be for the customer's point of view.
Now, obviously, this was done in-house. This was something that, it wasn't necessarily going right to a end buyer client. But from a distributor's standpoint, when you've done projects like this, where it might be a kit where you have a lot of different components and things like that, what are some of the biggest challenges that distributors should keep in mind, or not necessarily challenges, but just, I guess, variables that could create challenges down the road if they're not aware of them?
I mean, first and foremost, the thing that always comes to mind with my team when we're working on this is, does everything fit in the box together? So time is always of the essence. And so if you have the luxury of time to be able to gather all the items, make sure they physically fit together, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So truly making sure that you are measuring every last little detail is really important. Again, trying to get them ahead of time. I would say that's really important. When it comes to sourcing, if you have a hard deadline, if this has to ship by this date and your kitting team or whomever needs everything assembled by a certain time, that work back schedule is really important. Making sure that you're staying in touch with those suppliers, they know those delivery dates, open lines of communication if there are delays, which always seem to happen, and being nimble and flexible. I would say one thing for our team, we try to build in a little bit of a buffer. We say, these are going to ship at this time, but really try to give ourselves a couple-week buffer, knowing that something could go wrong.
I would think also with the packaging, we want the right size packaging, and we don't know what that package size is until we know what all the components that are going into it is. And then the process of getting a printed package takes a bit of time. So you have to have enough time to do the last part of that, which is the first impression of that package printed.
I would say
Overall,
timing. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say backing out timing. So our Q1 inbox is going to ship in February, but we've been planning this for probably 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
So, and obviously we're having to gather orders from our account executives. There's a lot of moving parts to it, but we do honestly plan a lot of these 5 to 6 months in advance. So I think kind of building in those timelines for yourself is really important.
Now, you alluded to one thing when you were saying that a lot of the pieces have QR codes, and that, obviously, I think that was something that really kicked in. Obviously, QR codes are not new, but I think it was during the pandemic that we all kind of were forced to really learn about how they work and what they're capable of. And now they're, on all kinds of things, including apparel. But what are maybe some of the other benefits of a print product, like those printed inserts and, QR codes, in addition to packaging? What are some of the benefits to print that promotional products distributors who aren't getting involved in those kind of products, what are some of those benefits they might not be aware of?
I would say it's really being able to focus on that omni-channel initiative, that integrated initiative. So if somebody picks up this item and says, why would I use this? You can put a QR code and they can go directly to that product. They can see all the details, or you can do a QR code that goes to a landing page that has a blog, something about how you would utilize all of these products. I think, knowing who your audience is, what's important to them, and what message, how do you want to communicate to them, I think is really impactful. So it can go straight to a product, or it can go to a bigger thought leadership type piece. So knowing that we don't have a ton of space and attention to put everything on here, you can tell more of your story if you're linking to a QR code, have a QR code goes to a landing page.
Another thing you mentioned, Brandon, about QR codes being around before we started using them, what was also around was augmented reality. And just like QR codes, that required at the beginning, you had to get a particular app to download to use it. But now that the smartphone can open a QR code and bring you right to a site, I can imagine augmented reality being part of gifting and bags like that too, where I look at the QR code and it actually shows me somebody using that honey stick or using that little blender thing. What is it called again?
The immersion blender.
Immersion blender, yeah, which is really cool.
Fancy name for a whisk.
Yeah.
It's all about branding.
Yeah.
Now, you talked a bit about the potential roadblocks that can happen in promotions like this. Did you personally run into any hurdles that you needed to deal with while you were putting together this Q4 box? And if so, how did you handle them?
I think, the main ones that usually come up, we were delayed on one of our supplier pieces, so that pushed things back. We do have an internal kitting team, so it's just about communication. So it's letting that team know we're on your schedule for this date, but this piece is a little bit behind. So it's working with them. Okay, what can we stage beforehand? And then we had a slight little issue with printing. We had a hiccup with the printer that was doing the insert. So, you know, we had to have the tech come and fix the printing machine. And so just those little things. There was nothing major, but I would just say truly open lines of communication, because our kitting team does have a lot of projects going on this time of year. So making sure that they know we may be, you know, off by a couple days, and so how can they adjust their schedule accordingly.
So finally, if you were to speak with a distributor who looked at this project and said, man, I really want to do something like that, what's the single piece of advice that you would give them?
I would say, you know, we're fortunate we have an in-house kitting team. So we have so many amazing suppliers that can send product, and we've got a kitting team that does this. If you have a team that does that, we can kind of go into what I would say for that, if you have a kitting team, it's thinking through what's the objective. Are you doing a theme? Are you doing a specific event? Are you doing a time of year? What is that integrated campaign? Thinking about it from that aspect. If you don't have a full in-house team, there's tons of suppliers that do boxes in-house, and they've got a myriad of products that you can choose from. Some can do full custom boxes, some can do printed inserts. So I think asking what your own team, you know, what are your capabilities, and starting from there. If you just do not have a full team to do this, you might want to start going with a supplier who can do, you know, one-stop shop for you.
That all makes sense. Well, Tom and Aaron, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And once again, for ASI Media, I am Brendan Menapace, so thank you for watching.